But there's a difference between rushing a book out and taking 11 years to write it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that out there. But as soon as they lost the script that Martin had set out is when things took a turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they were rushing to finish something that they were painstakingly putting together for years ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then they rushed it.
That's right. Why though, man? I mean, I know the producers' reasons and directors for why.
So what were you hearing about the reason they rushed it?
I heard that the main two guys, who started it, were ready to move on to either a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Or just regardless, I think they were ready to move on. I think that's dumb. I understand you're ready to move on. Dude, finish it. Finish it out, man.
Well, honestly, I don't... See, here's where I run into it, is like imagine you have, what was it? How long were they producing that show? Like 10 years before leading up to that?
At least. Yeah.
Hey, imagine that you're sitting there with a sneeze for 10 years. And then it just disappears there at the end.
Oh, that sounds horrible, dude.
Like,
yep.
That's exactly what it was. Like it's that feeling of you have to sneeze, and then it goes away.
Oh.
For 10 years.
Worst finale ever? On the grand scheme of movies, TV shows?
I mean, biggest disappointment.
If it ended as it should have, would it go down as the greatest fantasy franchise ever? Or do you still have Lord of the Rings at one?
It's still not the greatest fantasy franchise ever, but most influential, most popular, yes, absolutely. Like people would still be talking about it if it ended well.
Dude.
Everyone immediately stopped talking about it because it's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bring those feelings up again. If it had ended well, absolutely. Like, people are still on the edge of their seats for the next movie or for the next book that's coming out. But I think he has two more. One that he hadn't released in 11 years, and then one that's supposed to come after that. And the dude's like, what, 107 now? Like, we're not going to get the end of it.
If he dies, what happens?
Everyone's just going to realize, yeah, okay, that's exactly what we expected. And I mean, people probably aren't going to be talking about A Song of Ice and Fire anymore.
Yeah, that'll be that. That'll be wrapped up.
No one's going to rebuy it. No one wants to buy a half-finished book. Somebody might buy the rights and try to write it into it, but it's not going to go well.
Good luck to whoever that is.
Man.
You mean like a Penguin Random House, like a big publishing company or something?
I have no idea how they would handle that, but I deliberately haven't read them. I want to read them, but I haven't because I don't want to get halfway through a series and then never get resolution.
Same. That's literally why I haven't.
I never will read them if he dies before he releases those last two books. It's been 11 years. We're not getting them. Get over it, people.
Whew. Another big book series that has the same issue currently is King Killer Chronicles. Have you heard of this?
I have not heard of this.
Patrick Rothfuss. Same exact issue. He's gone 13 years. He wrote Name of the Wind. He wrote A Wise Man's Fear. And he was supposed to finish it off in a trilogy. It's been 13 years. If you go on YouTube and look up Patrick Rothfuss, his readers are like, you son of a bitch, I was 20. I'm now 33 with 2 kids. I was in college when I was reading your shit. Now I'm almost in my mid-30s. What are we supposed to do? And the guy's like, I have no answer. It's like, when you start something, guys, be able to finish it. Is that so much to ask? Are we being too harsh on these guys?
I don't know. Part of me is sitting here they don't serve us. They're writing this for their own gratification. However, after a certain level of popularity, you do have a bit of obligation to your fans. You know?
Especially.
And I understand the pressure to write probably doesn't help the writing process. But at the same time, writer's block for 11 years...
How's that impossible? I
mean, just based off of, like I said, I have not read the books, but just having watched the shows and all of the irons they had in the fire trying to piece together that show, I get he probably wrote himself into a corner and is trying to find a way to get all of the stories to iron out cohesively.
That's what I think, yeah.
But at the same time, Granted, when he dies, like, what are we gonna be able to do to him? Like, we can't touch him anymore. We can't get mad.
still,
Like, we can be mad, but like, what does he care? He's dead.
We still dig him up and beat his ass still.
Yeah, what's he care? He's dead.
Start punching his corpse.
So get it out, line it up, pinata style. Everybody line up.
Pinata style. His corpse is hanging. We're just beating his ass.
Yeah, maybe the last book will fall out of his ass.
We're like, oh, there it is. All right, guys, it's all right.
It's a tough situation because on one hand, like, we want the resolution to the story, but on the other hand, it like they are under no obligation to serve us.
True. It's such a tough, dude. It's such a tough situation.
And if we press too hard, like, hell, he might just slap some crap together and just throw something out and say, here you go, fine. And then it's going to be bad, and we're going to hate him for that, too.
Fair. And we would, and you know...
That would be worse than just dying, because at least if he dies, we can pretend like he was working hard on it for 11 years and then just wasn't able to reconcile it.
Ever since the turn of the century, specifically Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy, since then, in movies, TV shows, comic books, we've gotten so many great stories, so many great IPs. We're in this weird spot here in 2024 about to be, where we've kind of, what we talked about earlier, we've kind of touched all the franchises. It feels like studios and directors are going, okay, like, what now? Like, it kind of feels that way a little bit. Like, all right, what do the people want now?
We're in a weird spot, but it's their own fault. People are not given room to create. They're not given time to create. Most writers have to have a second job if they want to survive, unless they're on like a, recurring, like a top level show.
Especially if you're out there in LA and you're on a lower level show. But at the end of the day, the CEO of Disney is Bob Iger.
Mm-hmm.
His salary is, I think, 28 million.
Yes.
If you add stocks on there, he's making probably
35 money.
35 million a year, let's call it. Is there a justification for a man to make 35 million a year while writers are starving trying to make a living? A capitalistic question. Capitalism versus socialism kind of...
I'm going to sit here and say no. I'm not saying that Bob Iger brings zero value to the company. Because, I mean, I don't think he does, but I don't think he brings... As an individual, he is not bringing in $35 million worth of revenue to the company. All of the money that he himself makes is only there because of the efforts of his writers.
100%.
And other, actors, producers, like all of those, the people doing the actual labor. I'm sure he does a great job sitting in meetings and boosting morale of the other execs.
Disney is like a giant ball of metal moving downward speeds of 200 miles an hour. And Bob Iger is just riding it.
He's on like a wagon behind it.
Yeah, and he's saying, we're going to keep going this way.
Exactly.
The thing that kills me about some big company like Disney, though, is when they make a bad quality movie and it loses them $100 million. Guess who gets fired? It's not Bob Iger. It's the people working at the stores, in the shops. The janitors sweeping the bath. Like, it's that level that gets fired.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just bullshit.
The success is put on the shoulders of the exec. The failures are nominally put on the shoulders of the execs, but it's the lowest levels that actually suffer for it. And that's not leadership.
Yeah.
That's just being a selfish douche. Fuck you, I got paid, is the mindset of every CEO in the country that I have looked at.
Mm-hmm. Well, Disney fired 7,000 this past summer, right?
Bob Iger still got a job done.
Well, it's funny.
It's his policies that got him in that mess to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Got any final words or comments or...
Dude, if you haven't done it, go read The Lord of the Rings. If you have read The
Yes.
Lord of the Rings, go read The Silmarillion. There's always more Tolkien to consume.
Yes.
if you have any enjoyment of the fantasy genre, you need to know your roots.
Yes.
And you can always look deeper if you want to. And if you don't have the energy to read them, go watch YouTube videos. Every single thing has been analyzed, and we're still getting more from it.
Yes.
Can't beat it.
Go follow the Nerd of the Rings.
Follow the Nerd of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings Lorecast on Spotify is worth listening to as well. He
Absolutely.
just finished going through the Silmarillion, and I have a lot of enjoyment coming from the Tolkien fans subreddit, where people go into way more detail than any human being needs to know about Tolkien, but it's fun.
That's pretty awesome, though.
It's amazing.
Are people like arguing in there about, oh no, he meant this, or?
Kind of, yeah. Like there are some
awesome.
serious scholars in there. It's comedic, but also really fun to scroll through sometimes.
Well, that's a real thing. Tolkien scholar. I mean, that's a true like.
Yep.
Imagine that you have a scholar about your life.
Like somebody asks a question and the dude's like pulling quotes from 6 different books to answer the question. It's hilarious.
Go follow all these Lord of the Rings stuff, and if you have not seen the movies or read the books, I
What are you
encourage
doing?
Yeah. What are you doing with your life? You're 30. All right?
Now, I'm talking to you specifically.
Yeah.
You're missing out.
You're missing out.
Get some help.
Get some help and join us.